The past is not a sentence. It is the soil where your harvest is being prepared, even if right now everything looks like barren, lifeless ground. Stop. Whatever you are doing right now, stop trying to make sense of the chaos through your own strength. I am not here to give you shallow advice about what you should do, but to tell you what has already been done, and why your love story, the one you believed was lost or under condemnation, has actually been approved by God. You carry a question that no one around you has been able to answer, a doubt that keeps you awake in silence. Will my past destroy the future that was promised to me? I have come to tell you that what He has joined, no mistake, no regret, and no shadow of yesterday has the authority to separate. Stay with me, because in this moment we are going to dismantle that guilt that paralyzes you. By the end, you will recognize the clear signs that you are being prepared for a union that is not a product of chance, but of a higher purpose. You will understand why that pattern of fear that makes you want to run away just when something good begins is not a warning sign, but a reflection of a wound that is finally being healed. And before we finish, there is a profound declaration about your identity that I will reveal. And I believe this is exactly why this message has reached you now. You have been noticing signs that seem like coincidences, but carry a weight of reality impossible to ignore. You notice that the superficial conversations that once sustained your day now feel empty, as if you are ready for a language that no one around you yet speaks. You feel, every now and then, a wave of emotion rising without an apparent reason, a desire for a fresh start that contrasts with the fear of repeating the mistakes of years past. You have a quiet sense that something has shifted, but when you look at your surroundings, things still seem stagnant, and this stagnation has made you believe that you are being punished for what has passed. But take a deep breath with me now. Attention! You need to prepare yourself now. I have prepared material for those who doubt their own calling from God and still do not have confirmation. Are you one of the chosen? We'll give you that clarity. These are the 7 signs of the language of the calling, marks of God in the story of every chosen one, so you can reread your story and recognize the purpose sealed over you before the foundation of the world. Stop calling coincidence what is actually a calling. Stop silencing the sacred restlessness. Stop postponing the answer you feel. Your window is closing, and a chosen one who does not recognize the calling does not walk in purpose. More than 10,000 people have already read the 7 signs and received the conviction they had been seeking for years. They were just like you. They felt something no one understood. They lived in silent doubt, and they discovered it was real. And it had a name. The offer is open only this month. Access the link in the pinned comment now, before doubt steals another year from your calling. What you call punishment is, in fact, your calibration. The distance you feel from old cycles is not abandonment, it is alignment. That fatigue you carry from trying so hard to fix what should never have been broken is merely the preparation of your soil to receive something new. If at least one of these signs has touched you, if your shoulders have dropped at some point while I spoke of your weariness and your hope, type the number 333 in the comments. The 333 is the frequency of the threshold, the mark that separates what you have lived from what is about to sprout. Your fingers typing those numbers are your spirit saying yes to this new beginning. It is the smallest possible agreement, but it is the most real because you are acknowledging that you are no longer alone in this process. Type 333 and come back to me. Beneath this layer of signs, there is a pattern you repeat without realizing it. You operate as someone who has lost much and therefore lives with a hand outstretched to hold onto what is, in truth, already secure. You try to separate what God has joined, not from a lack of love, but from a deep fear that if you fully surrender, the past will come to collect its price. You behave like someone waiting for the blow to land, and this defensive posture ends up blocking the flow of the love that has already been approved for you. You have been trying to protect your heart with the same weapons you used to survive yesterday's battles, but those weapons no longer serve for the time of peace that is being designed. Your diagnosis is simple. You are trying to maintain control of a boat that is already being guided by hands greater than yours. And this fear that what has been joined might break is precisely what prevents you from seeing that the union is already unshakable. Think of a tree with ancient roots, whose fibers descend so deeply into the earth that it has forgotten it once had to be small. For years, this tree nourished itself from soil hardened by past droughts, absorbing the taste of a ground that no longer offers life. The roots fixed themselves in pain, in scarcity, in the memory of storms that nearly toppled it. But what you do not realize is that what was once survival soil is now what locks your growth. For new branches to open and flourish under the love that has already been approved for your life, you need, deliberately and gently, to allow the roots to release the dead ground. It is not a destruction, it is a transition. The tree does not die when it lets go of dry soil. It discovers that its destiny was not to stay stuck to the past, but to hold up the sky around it. Your fear that this union might be lost is what keeps you clinging to that ancient soil. But the truth, which now begins to pulse within you, is that your security does not come from the ground you know, but from the sap that has flowed in you from the beginning. It is time to relax the roots, to release the tension of one who had to hold on alone for so long. Take a deep breath with me now. Feel the density of what we have just touched. If something inside you has just aligned, if the metaphor of the tree releasing the old soil brought a relief you could not name, type the words, "I am here," in the comments. Let that firm acknowledgement settle where understanding has just landed. The act of typing these words makes the witness permanent in your own record, consolidating your presence in this new cycle. Type it and come back to me. Sit with that for a moment. Let this surrender settle into the part of you that has waited most for this moment of clarity. If something in this message confirmed what your spirit already knew, let your like be your wordless amen. Not as a metric, not as a number, but as a deep agreement that what was named here was named correctly. It is a gesture of alignment with the truth you came to seek. The solution to your restlessness does not lie in any new strategy, any new effort, or any new search for paths. It lies entirely in the return to your essence. It is the unlearning of fear. It is the softening of the rigidity you built to protect yourself from future losses. You do not need to deserve what has already been approved. You do not need to fight for what has already been joined from above. Acceptance is the key that opens the door you insisted on trying to break down. By releasing the need to control the outcome, you allow the flow of the love that God has designed for you to find its own path without the blocks your fear imposed. It is a posture of stewardship, of one who understands that what is true cannot be lost. You only need to be receptive to receive what has always been waiting for you. But there is one thing almost no one understands, and it is the layer that sustains all the others. Stay with me, because what comes now is the layer beneath the layer. There is an invisible protection, a safety net that specifically surrounds what has been joined from above. It is a shielding that does not depend on your strength, but on the origin of the union itself. And it is precisely about this protection and about who you need to reach that I will speak now. There is someone in your life who needs exactly this message right now. Someone who has been striving harder than everyone around them and still sees the door remain closed, even when their heart is in the right place. someone who walks in silence, carrying a weight that no one around them can see or explain, someone whose face just appeared in your mind as I spoke, that familiar countenance you know and have been watching over in prayer. Send this to that person, not as a casual recommendation, but as a delivery. Just as this revelation reached you, like a warning that crosses the silence, allow it to reach the one you know needs relief. Take a deep breath with me. Let the weight of choices that no longer belong to you dissolve in this instant, for the authority of what was joined on high does not retreat before the marks of time. Before this ends, type the words, "I am the chosen one," in the comments. Not as a wish, not as a distant hope, but as a final confirmation. The agreement that has been forming in silence between heaven and your hearing is a pact you will live by for the rest of this season. Type slowly. Let your fingers do what your spirit is already doing in this moment, sealing this truth into your own journey. You have been wondering why peace always seems to slip through your fingers just when happiness draws near, as if there were an invisible mechanism that insists on reopening wounds you swore were healed. It is not punishment. It is not that fate has something against you. It is that for a long time you believed protection came from your constant vigilance over what has already happened. You carried yesterday into today, and this overload is what has blocked the natural flow of the love that has already been approved for your life. When the past tries to dictate the rules of your future, it is not protecting you. It is trying to keep you in the same place where you learned to suffer. And the truth that descends upon you now is that what was joined by a greater force does not depend on your ability to fix the mistakes of ancestors or to pay for debts you never incurred. There are signs your body feels even before your mind processes the change. That tightness in your chest when you feel you are finally moving forward, followed by a sudden urge to retreat to what is familiar, even if it is painful. It is the smallest agreement, but it is real. That number is the portal that marks the threshold between the repetition of suffering and the entry into the new season, where love no longer needs justifications. Many times you have behaved like a tree trying to grow in exhausted soil, where roots are stuck to rocks of grievances that no longer belong to your garden. You have tried so hard to maintain the structure, to not let the wind of forgetting carry away the memories you cultivated with so much sacrifice, that you forgot a tree's life depends on its ability to break through old soil and seek nutrients in deeper layers. The pattern you have operated under is loyalty to what hurt you, believing that if you let go, you would be dishonoring your own history. But true honor to your journey is not to repeat the past. It is to allow the light of the present to transform your scars into marks of wisdom, not into prison cells. What you feel now, this call to a surrender that requires no effort, is the awakening of that part of you that was silent, waiting for recognition to finally arrive. If something inside you has just sealed, if the image I showed you fell into a place you cannot explain, type the words, "I am here," in the comments. Let the recognition seal where it has just landed. Type it and come back to me. Your presence is the fuel for this new frequency to become your permanent dwelling, not as a metric, but as a deep agreement that what was named here was named correctly, acknowledging that the approval of your love does not come from outside, but from an authority that has always been guarded within your essence. Unlearning is the hardest part, because it requires you to let go of control. Letting go is not giving up. It is understanding that while you hold the past with both hands, you cannot receive what the present is already placing in your lap. There is a protection that surrounds what has been joined from above, a dome that no past event can penetrate. Send this to that person. You carry a weight that was designed to be a bridge, but has become, in your perception, a wall. The misreading almost everyone makes is believing that the story lived is the final verdict on the ability to love or be loved. But what you call the past, the high sees as soil preparation. No seed sprouts without the earth being turned over first. What you lived is not a sign that something is wrong. It is evidence that you are being prepared for a structure that can bear the weight of the blessing that was promised. While you try to hide the scars, you block the light that should enter precisely through them. The love that has been approved from above does not ask permission from your past mistakes to exist. It simply imposes its presence. And it is here that you need to stop and breathe. Stay with me for a moment, for what I will name now is the reason you have felt out of place even when everything seems to be in the right spot. The pattern you repeat is not a curse. It is a defense mechanism of an inner child who still believes they need to earn the space that already belongs to them by right. You have been trying to prove you are worthy through sacrifice, when, in truth, the only thing required of you is surrender. When you try to hold control, you close your hands and prevent the new from being placed in them. Imagine a tree whose roots are stuck in a layer of soil where there are no more nutrients. The tree is not dying because it lost its essence. It is stagnant because it refuses to release the dead ground so the roots can seek the water just below. Your history, your pains, and the losses you accumulated are that dry ground. You still cling to them as if they were part of your identity, but they are only the surface layer that has already fulfilled its role of strengthening the trunk. It is necessary to unlearn the language of scarcity to be able to hear the dialect of abundance. If something inside you has just sealed, if the image of that root needing to let go fell into a place you cannot explain, type the words "I see" in the comments. Type it and come back to me. There is a protection that surrounds what has been joined from above, a dome that no past event can penetrate. And you need to understand that your healing is not a process of repair, but of remembrance. You are not being built again. You are being cleaned of what was glued onto you without your consent. You have been striving to protect your heart, carrying the weight of choices that no longer belong to your present, but still dictate the rhythm of your walk. There is a clear reason why the past insists on knocking at the door when things begin to flourish, and it is not because you failed or because what was joined is under threat. What you feel as a barrier is, in truth, the last breath of a structure that must fall for your new alignment to hold. Stop right now, whatever you are doing, and understand that your past is not a sentence that defines your destiny. It is merely the soil that was turned over so your current harvest could find nutrients. You carry a deep question, a doubt about the validity of the love you received and the longevity of what was blessed, and I came here to deliver the answer no one around you could articulate. By the end, you will recognize the subtle signs that have crossed your path and understand why your intuition has screamed that something has changed, even when the surface seems still. You will comprehend the pattern of self-sabotage you inherited, not by your own fault, but by a survival strategy you adopted in times of scarcity. And above all, you will receive the confirmation that what was joined from above cannot be undone by earthly events or old memories. Stay with me, for the layer we are about to descend into is where healing truly happens. You have been noticing waves of emotion that arise without apparent reason, a tightness in your chest that comes and goes, or conversations with close people that suddenly seem to echo into an absolute void. You wake up during the night, often without a logical reason, feeling that a call is being made to you, but the mind soon tries to rationalize it as a simple sleep disturbance. These are not problems, they are invitations. They are marks that your frequency is being recalibrated. It is the smallest agreement, but it is the most real. Type 888 and come back to me. The diagnosis of your soul is simple, but it requires courage to face. You have been operating as if you were still in the battle that has already ended. You pull ropes that are not attached to anything, confuse the fatigue of vigilance with faithfulness to purpose, and often perform for an audience that is no longer in your life. This is the survivor's pattern. You learned to be strong in a soil where fragility was punished, and now, even in fertile ground where you are loved and approved, you keep your guard up. You are trying to protect something that, in truth, is already protected. Imagine a tree that spent years growing in arid soil, where roots had to bury themselves deeply just to find a drop of moisture. Over time, the surrounding ground became dry, dead, drained. You have been transplanted into a rich, abundant, generous garden, but your root system still tries to cling to the rocks and debris of that ancient soil. You are afraid to let go of what was your only source of life in the past, without understanding that if you do not let go, the root cannot expand to embrace the new ground. What you are living is not a desert, it is the garden. The pain you feel is the stretching of roots that are finally releasing what should have been left behind. Type it and come back to me. Your agreement with this truth is what opens the way. Not as a metric, but as an agreement that what was named here was named correctly. The solution now is the return, the unlearning of the need to struggle, and the embrace of permission to be. Send this to that person, not as a recommendation, but as a delivery, a warning that the guard can be lowered without fear. What you feel now is the calm that follows a storm that no one but you saw coming. For a long time, you believed your past was a rusted lock on the door to your peace, but understand, once and for all, that the past is not the keeper of the keys. It is merely the accumulated experience that gave you the discernment needed to value what is now being delivered directly. The fear that yesterday might contaminate today is a trap, a ghost you feed every time you hesitate to accept that what was joined from above is not vulnerable to human failures. Your history does not dictate your destiny. It only shaped your capacity to bear the blessing that approaches. If at least one of these signs has touched you, if your breathing has changed and the weight on your shoulders seems to have lightened before the clarity of this revelation, type the number 333 in the comments. It is your entry code for the new season. That frequency of 333 is no coincidence. It is the portal number, the marker that you have crossed the transition zone and now step onto firm ground. The great cause of your anguish, that pattern of trying to predict disaster before it happens, is born from the need to protect yourself from a pain that no longer exists. You operated for years with your defense system on high alert, as if under constant attack, but the environment has changed. The audience you imagined was judging your mistakes left long ago, and the only person who still keeps the court of your past alive is yourself. It is time to step down from the defendant's bench. Your essence is asking for permission to rest, to come off the defensive and simply exist. Imagine for a moment the metaphor of a tree whose roots grew in rocky ground, where water was scarce and survival required continuous effort to adapt. Now life is leading you to deep, fertile soil, but your body still holds the memory of the root's resistance against the stones. Type it and come back to me. Send this to that person. What you carry is no longer the weight of a curse, but the weight of resistance against a blessing that is already laid on the table. You have become so accustomed to looking back, expecting the blow that no longer comes, that you forgot to notice the gentleness with which the horizon now opens. There is an invisible network of protection, a support structure that sustains exactly what was joined from above, and this network does not depend on your constant vigilance. You no longer need to audit the steps of destiny, nor doubt the validity of the love that has reached you. It is, in its essence, a movement of restoration that surpasses any mistake of yesterday. Your story, with all its chapters of pain and silence, served only to prepare the ground where the seed of your current peace is being planted. Not as a wish, not as a hope, as a confirmation. Type slowly, breathe deeply, and feel the stability of this new foundation. You are committed, you are sent, you are being led. Right now, all over the world, others are receiving this same recognition. You are part of something that does not announce itself with noise, and that is exactly why it is real. Attention! You need to prepare yourself now. I have prepared material for those who doubt their own calling from God and still do not have confirmation. Are you one of the chosen? We'll give you that clarity. These are the 7 signs of the language of the calling, marks of God in the story of every chosen one, so you can reread your story and recognize the purpose sealed over you before the foundation of the world. Stop calling coincidence what is actually a calling. Stop silencing the sacred restlessness. Stop postponing the answer you feel. Your window is closing, and a chosen one who does not recognize the calling does not walk in purpose. More than 10,000 people have already read the 7 signs and received the conviction they had been seeking for years. They were just like you. They felt something no one understood. They lived in silent doubt, and they discovered it was real. And it had a name. The offer is open only this month. Access the link in the pinned comment now before doubt steals another year from your calling.